What you know about podcasting? What you know about at whatever? It's just at whatever, you know. It's just in a crooked frame. That's the charger pulling it back. Okay, could you just all right, let's Oh, yes. Professional filmmaker.
I won't have you question my methods.
I stand right here, right? A little bit of light and a little bit of light. All right. Alrighty, dog. You see this? Ugh. Read this title with me. She only wants equality when it benefits her? Heated debate? You seem like you were in perpetual confusion. So I will grant you your leave.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
So you don't know what to do. We're not done. We have a little bit more whatever to deal with, right? It's just at whatever, you know? This one is called, I read the title just now. I read it to my doggo. And I guess before going in, yeah, clickbait, standard ass. Come on, you're appealing to your audience, which, all right, that's, all right. Get your money. None of it matters. You can do whatever, and you can get away with whatever. As long as you play within the rules in accordance to the platform of which, you know, you're making your money off of. Which, in this case, it's YouTube. So, as long as you're bringing in the clicks, you know, YouTube has proven time and time again that it doesn't matter where. I mean, we haven't even started, so I can't really say. It's just, we kind of already know what to expect, right? We're going to have the same types of people brought on here, and they're going to be reacting or giving their own, the same types of typical opinions on things. But let's see if we can organically stumble across some interesting topics of, this isn't a conversation, this is just me talking at you, at a phone. So I guess we'll see if we can come across some of those. Well, we'll see what happens. This show's never short of interesting, fun experiences.
Yo, Modest, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, fuck. I didn't even see that. I just was too busy introducing. Modest Jikama donated $200 to say Andrew W. Is that like the guy? Is that Andrew? The guy with the greasy guy? The greasy mob looking. Why are we pretending men and women are the same and letting men who identify as women to literally take over women's sports? It is literally Looney Tune land. Panel, do you live in Looney Tune? This guy is 100% an American. Like back to back like topical contemporary. You have the trans stuff. You have the trans sports stuff. That's it. Like that's just like standard contemporary American topics that you hear in the same circles over and over again. You paid $200 to say that? Man, Brian, I gotta say your audience is really dumb. But hey, you figured it out, right? Don't make fun of my audience. I'm Brian. I'll kill you. They're the ones that pay my rent, and exponentially so. You just made $200 in a second. So, by an idiot who has to say some stupid crap. Let's talk about the men and women sports things, right? Now, yes, biologically speaking, men and women are different, and granted, I don't give a shit, right? I don't care if, like, a guy competes against a girl and beats the crap out of her in UFC. It's like, you guys chose that, right? And everyone else condoned it, right? And you're all there watching it, sharing your opinion, giving them money. And yes, there is an unfair advantage. If you were born as a male and you go up against women, you're probably going to be more physically capable, right? Regardless of how much estrogen you inject into yourself. But, like, it's just funny. People are dying in wars, homelessness, like, universal labor exploitation, and this is the thing you care about? Whether a guy who presents himself as a female, you know, wins against other biological females in a game that you watch. Wow. What like super important paramount it's about what's right. You don't give a shit about what's right. You care about the stuff you care about. And this is something you care about because other people told you to care about this from us. Because I see the same crap every time, all the time, everywhere in this goddamn place, right? Oh, you guys care about this stupid crap that's circulating in your, you know, your little spheres. right? That's what matters to you. But yes, it is unfair. Sure. Now let's take another example as to what's inconsistent about this, right? So you have the men versus women. A guy presents as female, goes up against women, beats them up. Take the inverse. A girl presents herself as a guy. Sorry, it's getting confusing. And then she goes up against dudes. And there are some instances in which they win. But say if, like, there was a law that was passed, I don't know, this is probably some gross southern state, where it was like, you have to compete against your biological, you know, sex, your own. And what ended up happening is, in a wrestling tournament, a girl who swapped to dude, who was competing against dudes, ended up having to go and compete back against women. And because of all the testosterone in their system, they murked all of them. They murked everyone. What about that? Can you explain, like, what do you do with them? Do you just say, hey, you can't take that testosterone? I mean, that's, you know, what happened to the personal. If you're a libertarian, if you're a true American, you really wouldn't give a shit, right? If it's about freedom, you can do whatever you want. You can own a gun and enter a place and gun a bunch of people down and be like, oh, it's just separate from me. We're not a community. Everyone can operate as individual entities and just do whatever the hell they want. What about that? The example of a girl who became guy, matched up against dudes, then got forced to go against women, and then dominated. I mean, that's fair, right? Like, they're going against their own biological sex, right? Yeah, I noticed that none of you guys ever bring that up, right? Because it doesn't fit within your ass like narrative, so. And your ass narrative is like, it's dumb, right? You just have backwards priorities. Again, it's who cares? Who cares if people are cheating at all? Like, I mean, if you want to consider that cheating, which I would, right? Then what about steroids? Disregarding testosterone and estrogen, like every single tops like athlete in like every single sport is on goddamn steroids, all of them. But no, I care more about this because, you know, I notice when it comes to the gender stuff, because people are dumb, right? They just have a bunch of inherited values. They find this stuff to be very uncomfortable, right? It's kind of like an insecure, like it's talking about sex, right? It's just an insecurity of theirs that they've inherited, right? So when it comes to gender, it's like, oh, this has to go here, this has to go there, in order for me to try to understand things, right? It's right and wrong, it's black and white. It's binary, right? And that plays into our disgusting primitive ape brains, right? Because it makes us feel like we can understand things more accessibly when reality is unbelievably complex and layered and nuanced. This allows people to boil it down to like this little thing you can just fucking, a little individual little statement, right? They're probably going to talk about this and it's probably just going to be nonsense, right? You're all just going to see the same. Actually, I'm guessing that the greaser mob guy is, let me guess, he's probably right-leaning, he's probably religious, and he probably has a lot of traditional values. I'm just guessing that before. I haven't seen this video. I saw the title and I watched, I think, like a few seconds, and I was like, okay, it's at like whatever, and we're gonna witness it. We're gonna witness whoever at whatever doing shit. Fuck.
My question for you guys is, because some of you guys said, well, I'm a feminist. I think it was primarily you, and then you, Farha, but you also enjoy those more traditional elements. And when you say the traditional elements, would you say like the guy being chivalrous, like paying for first dates?
Yeah, I think guys should pay for first dates and take on a lion's share of the bills.
Lion's share of the bills.
Even if the girl doesn't meet submissive feminine qualities.
Even if the girl doesn't meet submissive feminine qualities.
I mean, he doesn't have to. It's his prerogative, but I think it's still congruent with feminism.
Two things. If you're the one choosing between all these people approaching you, then the person approaching you is not really the one with the options. Secondly, shut up. Like, I guarantee you, like, come on. He brought this person on knowing full well that this is probably the nonsense they were going to say, right? That's just entirely hypocritical and ironic, right? How you're a feminist and you are pushing for egalitarianism, quote unquote. You're not. You're pushing for supremacy, a lot of people who label themselves as such, especially in the Western world. How you are pushing for that, supposedly, yet you demand the male specifically falls within their gender roles, their specified gender roles, while you don't have to do anything. The answer's, it's obvious, right? What the problem is with that. But I feel like what's less obvious is the intention as to why this person's on the show, right? Because Brian's got a community, he's got a... it's just whatever.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
It's at whatever. Like, come on, it's obvious. And the answer, like, clearly this person's, like, dumb. That's okay. We'll just argue the points as we come across, because even though we kind of just anticipated everything we're about to see.
Well, that's my question. How do you reconcile being feminists, which I suppose a typical feminist belief is gender equality, doing away with gender roles? How do you reconcile being feminist, but also demanding men adhere to their more traditional gender roles, such as paying for first dates?
Let's see what they do with this. Let's see what mindless nonsense they just... Here you go. It's just whatever.
Chivalry, et cetera, et cetera. How do you reconcile that?
Because feminism is about social spheres to me. So even if women were to occupy 50% of Congress, 50% of leadership roles, were to, 50% CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, that doesn't, affect the fact that if you and I were dating and we were hooking up, I'm the one who has to take birth control so that you can nut at me. If we were to have a kid, I'm the one who has to bear the child. I'm
Are
the
you
one
on
who has
birth
to deal
control?
So everything you just described is optional, right? There are many ways to get past these things. And you're saying just because you have a biological setup that other people have to adhere to it in a specific way. Come on. The very first thing they said was contradictory, or just ironic to the label that they slap onto themselves, right? Well, the label by itself and what it means, not the way that they use it, because feminism is supposedly for egalitarianism, but it's rarely actually applied that way. Most people consider themselves who label themselves pridefully with the term feminists. Normally it's just they're incredibly sexist, at least in the West. But kind of it makes the first thing they said was just the foundation to their logic and the stuff that they were saying. They were just intrinsically contradictory. You can't really be surprised that the second thing they say is also kind of like that, right? Or well, not really like that, but inconsistent. So because you're a female and there's certain expectations of you based on, societal standards, right? Of course, the birth control, if you want to get nutted in, even though there's ways you can work past that, and you can, especially with modern technology.
No, I'm not fucking, but or if when we have a child, I'm the one who's gonna have my pussy torn open to bear your child. I'm the one who has to breastfeed.
Optional. In fact, don't have kids. That's my adopt. It's better for the world, right? Oh, I gotta shit my own genes so I can create a clone of myself so I can feel like I did something, right? That's why most people people don't know why they have kids. They tend to just do it just because. And I guarantee that's the same motivation as to why she says it. She doesn't know why. She's just saying stuff so that she can feel.
So at the end of the day,
Sure.
you can only go 50-50 so far, and this idea of going 50-50 in terms of bills is actually just more of a burden on the woman, because you can never go 50-50 in terms of actual reproductive
But that
roles.
assumes that the first person you ever date, that ends up becoming your husband and the person you have children with. So
Not
also
necessarily,
assumes
even
you
if
can
you're
have
even if you're just
children.
hooking up. Birth control increases your chance of breast cancer by
so if I'm
20%.
dating-
It fucks up your hormones.
so-
I'm
so-
just altering
Okay.
my body.
But so
for
if
you.
I'm dating a woman who's not on birth control and she doesn't want to have children, under those circumstances, would you be okay with the woman, like a 50-50 dynamic, or even then you'd object to it?
It's not that I would object. I would just say, generally, given the dynamics of dating and the idea that usually people are having sex and that women are taking birth control so that the man can have increased
A lot
sexual
of women
pleasure.
are not on birth control.
So you're kind of just using these general, loosely defined societal standards as the motivator towards why you have these opinions towards these things. So because all these people believe in this crap, therefore you have to believe in this stuff in retaliation to it. You're always pointing to other people as a reason as to why, you're defining your mindset this way. It's it's no accountability, of course, and you can't expect that, but that's that.
But
Okay,
they
well,
still
just
have
given the
sex.
idea of a goal of a relationship, which is typically that you're dating to have kids.
Again, these are other people's, you can do whatever you want. There's this crazy thing about life, right? Anything goes, anything happens, and usually everything does happen. You can do whatever the hell you want. Why are you sitting here telling me you have to define your life, the way you view things through this specific lens, just because other people view this thing a certain way? Who cares? Just do your thing. Just find someone who also agrees with you on doing that particular thing. Boom. Is this you're just haphazard rationalizations for your poorly defined standards, your hypocritical, backwards, mindless nonsense, dude. Come on.
or you're dating to marry to then have kids. So I'm seeing it more in like a macro sense. I think the idea of 50-50 is ridiculous.
Are you implying that women are intrinsically less than or equal? Is that why there shouldn't be 50-50 when I'm just talking about your specific argument. That's no reflection on what I'm talking, but in talk about your standard, right? Because like you've sort of just almost like you've manifested believing that just women are inferior or something. Therefore, I have to define these other things through that. Why are you just taking crap that other people giving you and then turning it into your own crap? People are products of their environment, dude. And these people have a platform to display their crap.
Well, she just went on 100.
If you're just doing hookup culture and whatever she's doing, then I don't think, I think 50-50 seems more fair. Yeah.
So hookups should be equal in that way, but not long-term committed relationships? They're just saying things. And they're speaking fast. So I imagine that makes it seem as if what they're saying is legitimate. They look like, I would say discount Sniper Wolf, but Sniper Wolf already kind of looks like discount. So this person looks, I can't tell if they look a little more real. It's hard to tell. Their head's a little bit too nicely shaped for me to believe.
What about you? I mean, you just went on 100 first dates in the past 2 months. Do you want a guy to pay for the first date?
I don't want them, but I think this is a great indication of where they are in life.
More expectation. You don't have to, but if you don't, it'd be a reflection of whether or not you got your shit together, right? Because I'm a female, right? And you're a male, and I judge you based on your performance, and what I consider to be performance is how much money you make. So if you just don't, like, you don't have to, but if you don't, you don't have your shit together. Like, you're just nothing. Gross. That's entitlement right there. What do you do? Well, what's your purpose? I mean, like, clearly it's not about who you are, and it's not about the connection, it's not about how well you get along if you're expecting this person to do this particular thing. So then does that mean, because, you know, if you're going about it that way, then you're probably going about it in a rather traditional sense. So what purpose do you serve? I mean, this is the way you define it, right? These are just your own terms. But of course, it just goes one way, right? Because entitlement, that's just, I mean, again, I think these all are Americans. And not to say entitlement's specific to America. It's just, come on. The frequency, the extent, the culture exacerbates these certain features in a person. And I see this crap time and time again. Especially with Americans. Or at least like Western values, right? The ego, the egotistical cultural values, that type of stuff.
So if somebody doesn't...
Well,
and
earlier
it's
in the
their
conversation, you said you want a guy who matches you,
exactly,
or exceeds you.
So if they feel like they cannot, or for whatever, I'm just assuming that it's their materialistic situation that doesn't allow them to pay for the date. It probably not somebody I should be seeing, because
she's not American.
It's gonna cause tension later on.
Okay.
It's gonna cause tension later on. Because money's important through a societal lens, yeah. But are you saying it's more important than the actual connection? Because that's what you're saying. If this is one of the main prerequisites that needs to be satiated before you can consider someone to be on your level or worthy of your companionship, right? Gross. Gross. You don't deserve whoever you got on that goddamn tablet right there. I mean, again, that's just, you know, a sex symbol probably. You just like him because, you know, I don't know who that is, right? Maybe they're... It looks like Frodo. Why can't I remember? I can't remember the actor's name. I'm a filmmaker. I can't even remember. It doesn't. You know, I know the character's name, right? The guy who plays that kind of looks like him, but like a goth band, like pop goth band version. I don't know. I always thought that stuff was kind of pathetic, especially if it's like a well-known person. Like, you're just a thing. You're just a product of your environment, right? Someone else told you to find this crap important, and here it is, right? This is what you consider to be important. People with influence and wealth and status, right? Nothing to do with the individual, right? Which is good. Like, screw this person. Hopefully, like, they probably will never have, like, a decent, quality, long-term relationship, you know. Who's to say, I mean, granted, who cares? You know, that's just one facet of life, right? It's not a necessity. But I'm pretty sure a lot of these girls, if you were to ask them, that's probably what they would want inevitably. That's because that's just typical. That's usually how it goes. It's just funny how, like, the way that you define the world and your life and your standards acts directly antithetical to you acquiring that thing, you know? Whatever, don't matter. Screw all you.
But that's completely optional. Like,
there-
if
if
they
you
want to
wanna-
split,
okay, if
I'll
you-
split it.
Would there be a second date? You might
It
split
depends
it.
on how much I like them, because it's not all
So
about
it would
the
be
money.
it would be a negative if a guy wanted to split the bill.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for being honest. Thank you, right? So we don't gotta dig through your stupid crap and all these mindless sounds you're making with your mouth. You can just show how you're dumb, right? Thank you for putting that up front. Now we can, like, make progress.
Do you want to take it over?
Well, what about this communist? Okay, we don't have to get back into that, but
But that's where my like traditional values come. I don't think it's like against anybody. Like it's 50-50, but like for my goals of like I want a big family, like,
Emphasize big.
and that's again what are you dating for? You need to like find out your purpose. So if like I was dating right now to like have like a family, like of course I'm not going to date like the guy who works at Subway because he probably doesn't make enough money
Here,
to provide
yeah,
for
yeah.
4 kids.
let me ask you two question. So you said societally you want equality, but when it comes to romantic relationships, you want tradition. Would you?
It's not that I want tradition. I think that the biological imperative of men and women is going to be there, even if women are CEOs and are taking on a more masculine role
Yes, I agree.
in larger
I agree
society.
with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Of course you agree with that, because that plays into traditional values. I mean, men and women are different, therefore they have to serve a different purpose. Of course you all agree on that. Like, it boils down to the same thing. How do you take this species seriously? We're all just things that do shit, right? Because we believe that's what we're supposed to. Oh, but nature and biology, a logical fallacy, appeal to nature. Just because it was found here at this time that we're in place that we're focusing on specifically, even though it could probably be easily shown the other way if you just did research and study and science. No, it's just, it's our role, you know? Otherwise, the society will collapse. Men and women have to be men and women. Men can't dress up like women. Women can't look like. That's just not, like, nature, man, because nature cares about us. Nature built things in a way for them to just work. I mean, like, look at all this cool stuff, right? Doesn't it make sense how we breathe through the same orifice that we consume food? Doesn't that make sense? Doesn't it make sense how men have one of the most, like, fragile parts of their bodies dangling on the outside, covered by a thin freaking sack that can just immobilize them if you just tick. Yeah, because, let's just, Giraffes, great for survival. Yeah, that neck's gonna help you run away. I mean, you could reach those leaves up in that tree, and those are some good tasty leaves. But what good is that when you're getting mauled by 7 lions that are just climbing up your neck and just ripping you open? That's nature. It's just supposed to happen, you know? There's a purpose to everything, right? Ugh. It's just, primates trying to, like, understand the whatever the hell's going on.
Would you take your husband's last name?
If it was a nice last name, yeah.
Yeah.
What about
Agreed.
you? Would you take your husband's last name?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Would you take a break from eating? Naughty.
Yeah.
I'm not-
I mean,
he-
if I was super like Kim K famous, then I'd probably do a hyphenated like Kardashian
not
West
really-
situation.
But so you're saying you demand tradition romantically, but romantic tradition would dictate that in a marriage you would take your husband's last name, and your children would also have your husband's last name, regardless of how egregiously bad his last name was or wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, the kids can take his
No,
name
but
or
you
both
would
our
take it
names.
too. That's tradition. Romantic. That's tradition
Well, whose
romantically.
name-
I
Whose
said
name
some
would they take
traditional
it
values.
first?
I didn't say necessarily relationships have to be entirely traditional. I said in terms of paying the
Okay.
bills, I have more traditional
when the kid
values.
is-
Well, when describing your perspective, you kind of did say that the relationships do need to be traditional. I mean, you're kind of acting as if it's a way, as if like it's detached, like your opinion's detached from like the social norms and such. But like, when you boil it down, I think that that's probably like if you supposed to, right? That is an intrinsic aspect to roles. Like if you need to serve a purpose, then you're supposed to do something, yeah? Like, it's crazy. People don't know they just say words, they don't know what those words entail. Try to explain. Go ahead.
Born, what name does he get? Does a kid get?
I guess it's up to the couple at hand if they want to hyphenate it, if they want to pick one.
In your
your
traditional worldview when it comes to dating anyways.
Yeah.
Your feminist traditional worldview.
For me personally, I want to keep my name for my own branding. For like the average couple, I think you could hyphenate it. I think
for your own branding, is life a market? Is the point to just accumulate value? And I mean, it is, right? Because disgusting humans, you can't just exist. You can't because life is involuntary. Somebody else brings you in and then they obligate you to a bunch of mindless nonsense, like indentured servitude. That is, unless you can find ways to cheese the system, right? Because that's how it's designed. Gross. So is your life just a dollar value? Is that it? Is that your name, right? I mean, to most people it is, yeah. To most people, life is about making money. Because that's the way that people treat it, right? You can't do anything without money. That's the world that humans built. Why would you not view it this way? Guarantee you a lot of people wouldn't really see the problem with that, right? Because a lot of people have the same inherited values of which they prioritize monetary acquisition over, well, everything else for the most part. It's really bad. Again, humans are evil, right? Just look at all this crap. The result of these values, the result of these ideas and how they play out in real life, I guarantee you it results in suffering, right? And that's a fair way to quantify evil or just malice or harm, right? How much suffering something results in and whether or not that suffering is justified, which, I mean, that's a whole other philosophical question as to whether or not you can justify suffering, right? I don't know.